I am John Denny, as a generative artificial intelligence model in this video for Exacta Tidbits. Technology is ever-changing, and I thought I would try my hand at machine learning-generated content for this introduction. In this video series, we will be working with Exacta.io to import various vulnerability scan files from sources like Nessus, SCAP, and STIG Viewer to create equipment-based assets. We will explore how to manage these assets in Part 2 by applying verification settings, roles, and criticality levels. In Part 3 of the series, we will work to move assets and their details from Exacta.io into their respective risk management framework project for Exacta 360 in different ways to ensure either all data, some data, or selected data is created or updated depending on settings. So let us get started with Part 1 of our series, Importing Scan Files.
All right, well, I hope everybody enjoyed a new intro for this video with some generative AI, something I'm just kind of playing around with to see how it works. A little bit of machine learning, a little bit of AI to make a avatar John talk to you in the introduction. But let's go ahead and get started here with how to import in our Nessus scan files in order to create assets for our system. So we are inside of Exacta.io, and we are going to begin this process by going on our primary navigation bar and choosing which system that we want to import our assets in. So we can see here that there are no assets. This is a completely new system. It has no assets in there, and we do need to create assets for it. So when I go to the assets page underneath my system menu here, there are no assets that have been created. So we're going to start by importing them in by doing a system level import, meaning I want to import in assets directly into this system. So that's why we're going to use system level import. So on the system level import, we're going to choose the Nessus option because that is the files that we're going to be working with. And once we choose the Nessus option, we are going to then choose the file, and we're going to review our import instructions and file specifications. So this is letting us know that we need to select our files to import, and the acceptable file formats, it will support Nessus, XML, zip, or gzip. Now when it says Nessus, what we're talking about here is the .nessus file. So your file must be a .nessus or .xml or .xml file. It will not take in a PDF or a spreadsheet of information in here. This needs to be what we call a raw scan file from Nessus, which is a .nessus file. It does let us know that if our file is greater than 500 megabytes, that we should compress it using zip or gzip before we upload it. So we're going to pick our files for uploading, and in this case I'm going to pick this .nessus file here because this is of the appropriate format, and this one has 5 assets inside of this file. We use these files for training purposes in my courses that I teach for the 16th Air Force. But we're going to go ahead and click the next button, and we're going to put this into our current cycle, and we'll click next again, and then we're just going to click import. Now as this import is happening here, we can see that Nessus has successfully scheduled this job, and if we go over to our import schedule, we can see that it is currently running here. So this one is currently running, and we're just going to refresh the page here, and we can see up here in our notifications that there is a file that has been scheduled for import. I'm going to refresh again. It is currently running. And so far we can see that 5 assets have been imported with 531 test results so far have come in. And now it has disappeared from this area, and according to my notifications that the import was successful. So the import job was created and the import job is successful. And how you can tell that this is successful is by going over to your assets page, and we can see now that we have 5 assets in here. So we do have our 5 assets, and you can tell right here from the page that these were created from Nessus scan files. So they were created as of today from Nessus scan files. Now the next portion that we're going to show you is how you can import multiple Nessus scan files at the same time. So you're not limited to just only doing one file, you can do multiple files at the same time. So we're going to go back to System Import one more time and choose our Nessus scan file again. And this time we're going to choose multiple files. So we're going to choose all 10 of these files here. So these are some Nessus files that I have for my system, and we're going to choose all 10 of these files, and we're going to import them all in at the same time. So again, we're going to make sure that we have the current cycle selected, which is my February cycle here, and I'm going to click Next and click Import Now. That is going to schedule for this import to happen, and we're going to wait for Exact.io to finish with its parsing of the file, and now it has successfully scheduled that job. And when we look at our import schedule and history, we can see that this is scheduled. It is currently scheduled, so we're just going to kind of refresh our screen here and watch what's going on. This is currently running. And we can see here that 10 assets have been imported so far. So it has imported in 10 assets from those files selected. And now it has completed. And I can see that in my notifications over here that the job has completed as well. So now that that's completed, when we go back to our assets, we can see that now we have 15 assets. So we had 5 originally. And of these 15, these extra 10 were all created from Nessus scan files. So all of these assets were originally created from Nessus scans. So that's how we get those Nessus scans into our system to create assets. All right, so in this part of the video, we are going to create assets by importing in our SCAP compliance checker files. So we are going to use the SCAP compliance checker file in order to import in and create assets from that. Now it's important to first note that you must have the correct file in order to do this, because SCAP Compliance Checker does create multiple files once it does a scan of a system. And the scan result that you want is what's known as this XCCDF results. So you want this XCCDF results file here, and that's what's going to give you the correct file in order to import it into your system. So of all the different XML files you have, make sure that you are using the one that contains the letters XCCDF. That is the one that you want. So now that we know that, let's go ahead and click our system import, and we are going to be importing in the SCAP compliance checker file. So from the SCAP compliance checker file, I'm going to choose file, and in my import instructions and file specifications, it does say that it needs to be in the XML format. So I am making sure that I am using that XML file. Remember, it is the XCCDF version of the file. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the file that I would like to import. In this case, this is going to be my asset 111 here. This one is in the XML format. So we're going to go ahead and open that one up and bring in this one asset from a SCAP compliance scan. We are going to import this into our current cycle. We'll click Next and we'll click Import Now. And just like before, we're going to go back over to our import schedule and history, and we're going to check. We see here it's scheduled. So we're just going to kind of go back and forth between the history and the schedule to just kind of watch this file as it comes in. So it's still scheduled. It's a little bit of a delay here, and now it's running. So we can see that this one's running, and it is imported one asset so far with 204 test results. It's still working through this asset here, and now it is completed. So I do have the green completed, so it was successful in bringing in this SCAP compliance checker file and creating this asset. So back on my asset screen, I can see that asset 111 was created, and it was created from a SCAP compliance checker file. So this asset is now in here from that SCAP compliance checker file. All right, so the last file type that we are going to import into our system in order to create an asset is going to be a DISA STIG viewer file. So we are still in our system. We're on our assets page, and just like before, we're going to choose to do a system level import. This time what we're going to do is choose STIG viewer, and this is the DISA STIG viewer file. So for this one, we're going to pick our file, and we're going to look at the import instructions and file types just like we have before. Now, it's extremely important to note here that for a DISA STIG viewer file, it must be in a CSV format, or comma separated value file. What that means is from your DISA STIG viewer, you must export your DISA STIG viewer checklist as a CSV file. So that is the file type that we need in order to make sure that we are receiving the correct file for our import here. So I already have a file that is set up, and this is my asset 100, and you can see right here it is in the CSV format. So we'll go ahead and open that one up, and we have the CSV format here. We'll click Next. We are importing it into our current cycle. We will click Next, and just like before, we'll click Import Now. So we see that this has been successfully scheduled, and we're going to do like before, go over to our import schedule and history, and we can see that it is currently running. I'm going to refresh the screen here, and this one is moving in the background. It is still currently delayed. That means Exact.io is processing this file, and now it is running through the information for it. And as it's running through the information for this file, we can see that one asset has been imported and 273 test results have been imported. It has now disappeared from here, and if we go to our notifications, we can see that this has completed successfully. And that is letting us know that that file did come in correctly. And we can go over here to our assets page. And from our assets page, we see that asset 100 was created from a DISA STIG viewer file. Now, one thing you may note about creating assets in this way is that there is no operating system listed for it. DISA STIG viewer does not contain the information about what operating system was used to scan that file in its repository of that CSV file, so therefore it will not show up here in that. So I do recommend that if you are going to be importing a file or creating an asset from a STIG viewer, that you make sure that you also get the SCAP compliance scan of it as well. That way you can import that one as well and get the operating system for the file. So, but this particular asset here is our asset 100, and that did come in from the DISA STIG viewer file. Now, in our next video, we are going to be talking about what we do with these assets now that we have them imported. So I hope everybody enjoyed this video on how to import your scan files of various types into Xacta.io to create assets. So we'll see you in part 2 of our video series.
For more great content, make sure that you like and subscribe to our channel to get the latest Xacta tidbits.